Come shop with us at www.loveus.us. Enter code Syndy B to get 10% off your purchase.
Welcome back. You are listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. It is Health and Wellness Week. You all know how I am about us achieving our goals for 2021. So, of course, health and wellness is just not our physical body. It is also our mental health, our self-care, and all of that. So today's topic is Finding the Light in Your Shadows. And I have an amazing guest here today. I don't even know where to start with all her accolades, but I'm just going to start because the topic, The Light in Your Shadows, is a play off of her book, The Light of My Shadows, 10 Habits to Shine from the Inside Out. Miss Brincia, say hey to the people.
Hello, everyone.
I'm so
Miss
glad
Cindy
you're
B.
here. Hey.
I'm so glad I'm here.
Oh, my goodness. So we are going to get into all of, we're going to do some healing tonight, right?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna heal.
We're going to heal. We're going to give direction. Listen, that's what that's my goal tonight, that we talk about finding the light within so that we can shine. We're gonna go through all your 10 habits of shine, so that hopefully, prayerfully, that those listening, even if it's just one little nugget that they
sometimes
can take
that's
away.
all it takes.
I'm telling you,
Sometimes
one thing can just spark the whole journey.
The whole entire thing.
But before we get into that, please tell everyone a little bit of background. I don't want to say New Orleans wrong, New Orleans, just a little bit of background, and don't leave out any of the accolades. Don't leave out any of them. Tell the people a little bit about you.
Cindy, it's so funny. Every time I'm asked this question, I feel like I'm like in one big gumbo pot being from New Orleans, because there's so many different experiences, so many different dynamics. I grew up in New Orleans, moved to Atlanta going into high school, which was a scary moment for me.
Yes.
Growing up in New Orleans with my single parent mother and my sister, we experienced some things. We saw some things.
Yes.
And so, the move was a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it at the time, but it was.
Right.
And so, going into high school, didn't know anybody, trying to figure it out. High school here started in the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going into the 8th grade when I moved to Atlanta. And it was the beginning of something spectacular, I think, for me.
Yes.
From there, I went on to Spelman College.
Yes,
you went
my
to
Spelman sister
College as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ball just kind of started rolling. From there, I made the Atlanta Falcons cheerleaders.
So pause there for a second. Did you know, because I remember in your book that you were on the cheerleading in school, right?
Yes.
So was that your next goal when it came to cheerleading, or did someone approach you about it? Like, how did that happen?
Not at all. The funny thing is, I happened to be at Perimeter Mall. I had to be, I don't know, maybe a senior in high school at that time. And I saw a group of ladies, and they had on Atlanta Falcons cheerleader jackets.
Okay.
And they just look so well put together, Cindy. I mean, I was like, oh, who is that? What they do?
Right.
They look like they dance, And so I looked them up. We didn't have Google at that time.
Right.
But I looked them up. I found out about the Atlanta Falcons cheerleaders, and I was like, you know what? That's a goal of mine. I love to dance. I'm going to do that one day.
This was your senior year in high school?
This was my senior year in
Okay.
high school.
Okay.
I didn't make the team until my senior year in college.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't audition until my senior year in college. And believe it or not, I auditioned twice.
Okay.
And many people don't know, the first time I didn't make the team.
Okay.
I auditioned. I made
same
it all
year?
the way 2 separate years.
Okay.
The year before I made the team, I auditioned that prior year. Did not make the team. Did everything I needed to do to go back and make that team. That next year, I made it. And it was almost like, I got chills because I'm a very spiritual person. And for y'all, if y'all don't know, y'all gonna learn.
You're gonna learn today.
But one of my favorite scriptures, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I wrote that scripture. I put it in my shoe.
Okay.
I danced on that scripture.
Wow.
My very last time that I tried out and made the team.
Right.
And so that's how I came to be Atlanta Falcons cheerleader.
Wow.
But
And how long?
I danced I danced in middle school, and then I was a cheerleader in college.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader my freshman year in college, but
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
Dance from 2002 to 2008.
Okay.
So about 7 years total.
Wow.
Great experience. I was one of the line captains. Traveled overseas to Tokyo, Egypt. We did Portugal.
Oh my goodness.
Cairo. Yes.
What a life as a young adult.
Oh my goodness, it was amazing. You know, the troops that were stationed there at the time, we did a USO tour, and so there were troops that were stationed there.
Okay.
So over a 2-week span, we, went to those different countries, entertaining the troops that was in those countries.
Okay.
So it was amazing.
And you're a nurse.
I am a nurse.
And where are you at now? Emory?
Piedmont.
Piedmont.
I started off at Emory, labor and delivery nurse, mother baby, post-op GYN.
Oh my goodness.
Went back and got my master's.
Yes.
And what was that? 2011.
Okay.
And I've been at Piedmont ever since. I am a clinical quality project specialist.
And what is that?
Girl, it's a lot. I wear a lot of different hats, but in a nutshell, I support the physicians within the Piedmont Clinic, which is a physician hospital organization.
Okay.
Right? So you have employed physicians that are employed by the health system. You have independent physicians that choose to align with the health system for the purposes of, better negotiations with their contracts and things like that. Where there's a quality program that goes along with that physicians must achieve certain targets on certain medical measures that they have to meet.
Okay.
So what I do, I go into the practices, I train the physicians, the nurses, the managers on how to be successful at meeting their quality measures. So,
jeez,
long story, but
that sounds like a lot of work.
Yes. Lots of work, but I enjoy it.
Yes.
I enjoy it. Every day is different, so I can't complain.
Yes. Well, when we come back, we're going to get into that 7:30 crazy. You want to do that 7:30 crazy with me?
Yes, I am.
7:30 crazy, and then we are going to get right into the light of my shadows, or for you all, the light, finding the light in our shadows. Okay.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
That's right. Make sure you stay tuned in and share. It is time for that 7:30 crazy. After the break, make sure you stay tuned in. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9, and we'll be right back.
If you're a content creator, social media socialite, influencer, or simply love to record current events, you need the joystick. The joystick is an essential tool for every type of digital content creator. It holds 2 or more mobile phones or tablets, allowing users to stream and record.
Are you looking for today's very best tasting juices and smoothies? Then look no further than coldpressgwinnett.org. Our premium juices are never diluted and never pasteurized. They are always 100% delicious and 100% organic. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's time to give your body what it craves to stay fit and healthy. Give us a call at 678-696-1011 to place your orders today, or visit us online at coldpressgwinnett.org. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's the very best tasting juice you'll ever have.
Hive is the all-new online eyewear boutique and is your new spot for hand-picked fashion frame glasses. Styles for men and women for winter, summer, spring, and fall. Everything you need to protect your eyes and look good doing it. Check us out online at hive-life.com. That's HYVE-life.com. And on Insta at Hive_Hive, helping your vision evolve. Trendy, classic fashion frames.
And here we go.
Call me crazy one more time.
Laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?"
Boy, you so crazy.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
You ain't seen no sign of him being crazy, deranged.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. It is time for that 7:30 crazy. You ready for the story?
I am.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
All right. This is, I don't know what report this is from. Oh, this is from the Jasmine brand.
Okay.
Okay. I think if I say her name, you're going to probably know what it's about.
Okay, let's see.
Cherie Whitfield's Prison Bay. Tyrone, I think Gilliams, is a free man and is reportedly ready to tie the knot with the Real Housewives of Atlanta alum. Cherie opened up about her relationship with Tyrone on season 10 of the Bravo reality show while he was still in jail for fraud. The last thing she mentioned during the reunion, which aired in 2018, was that he could be in jail for 2 more years if he didn't win an appeal. She alluded not wanting to wait for him. The last thing she mentioned during the reunion, which aired in 2018, was that he could be in jail for 2 more years if he didn't win an appeal. She alluded to not wanting to wait for him. I mean, he would love to marry me right now, but I'm not marrying someone who is in prison. I'm keeping my options open. I meet people all the time, and the crazy thing is, no one has been able to hold my attention or grab it. No one has been able to get in my mind and my head, child. He is still around, but I say at the same time, I love him. I have said it before. If he comes home and I'm still available and everything is great, what is he doing and what he says he's going to do, then absolutely I can see a future. Okay, we don't judge around here.
Yeah,
However,
like they say, how's the never?
Okay, right. However, is it 7:30 crazy, Brincia? For her, it seems. I don't know her personally. I know her through my sister-in-law.
Okay.
But I don't know, like, we don't kick it.
You don't know her personally like that.
So outside of that, it doesn't appear that she's had a relationship like significant since her ex-husband.
Right.
So should her next significant relationship be someone that's fresh out of prison, number one, and then fresh out of prison for fraud?
See, now we just going down a hill. We just tumbling down a hill.
What you think about that?
You know, I might have to say that's 7:30 crazy for me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, given that she hasn't had, and let me say, because maybe she's had a relationship. Maybe it just has not been a public relationship.
Okay.
But to have a public relationship after your husband be someone that is out of prison and fresh out of prison for fraud. You know, like we said, we don't judge anybody.
Right.
And, you know, I love love, and, you know, if love comes back around to you, then that's all good.
Right.
You know, but I'm going to just still have to go with my 7:30 crazy on this
It's going to be 7:30 crazy
It's
for
gonna
me,
be 7:30
too, you
crazy.
guys. I mean, at least shoot for the stars.
Yes.
I'm not saying this guy
Yes.
couldn't, but let him come out, let him get settled in, let him, you know, you guys live your own lives, and, you know, let him reestablish himself back in the world and see what kind of man he is at this point.
Because he's been tucked away. He's been tucked away, and he's probably wanting to get out here and see what's going on in the world.
I just feel like you're setting yourself up for
do
disappointment.
too.
I'm
I do
sorry,
too.
Cherie. We think
Sorry.
it's 7:30 crazy. I'm sorry. Listen, make sure you stay tuned and let us know what you think. Is it 7:30 crazy, or is love just love, no matter where you're coming from?
Where you coming from?
I know. When we come back, we're getting right into this conversation with Brincia, finding the light in your shadows. Make sure you stay tuned in. Share, share, share. You can call in 678-383-2339 or visit us at power1089.com or download the app. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for today's very best tasting juices and smoothies? Then look no further than coldpressgwinnett.org. Our premium juices are never diluted and never pasteurized. They are always 100% delicious and 100% organic. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's time to give your body what it craves to stay fit and healthy. Give us a call at 678-696-1011 to place your orders today, or visit us online at coldpressgwinnett.org. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's the very best tasting juice you'll ever have.
Hive is the all-new online eyewear boutique and is your new spot for hand-picked, fashion framed glasses. Styles for men and women for winter, summer, spring, and fall. Everything you need to protect your eyes and look good doing it. Check us out online at hive-life.com. That's HYVE-life.com. And on Insta at hive_hive, helping your vision evolve. Trendy, classic, fashion frames.
I don't want nobody else. I don't want nobody else. Give you all
Welcome back. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. I have my beautiful, amazing, phenomenal trailblazer woman here, Miss Brincia in the building. Say hey to the people one more time.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with Miss Syndy B.
Hey.
Ooh.
Shout out to the Bella Lux. I see you
Oh my
wearing
God.
those earrings.
You know I had
you
to
went
put
to
on
shopping,
my
girl.
Syndy B's, my bees. I love them.
She has
They
on the
are so
Syndy B's,
cute.
y'all.
They're so cute. I
Aren't
love them.
they?
They are.
All right, let's get into it because
Let's
one
get
thing
into
about the Unbroken Experience at time will sneak up and it'll be gone, and we still haven't covered everything that we want to cover.
Well, we don't want that to happen.
No.
We don't want that to happen.
Okay, before we get into the 10 Habits to Shine, what inspired you to go ahead? I'm sure you had a book. I'm sure people in your heart, in your mind, I'm sure people probably told you got to write a book probably for a long time before you actually wrote it. What motivated you kind of put that, gas, pedal to the gas to the pedal, whichever one it is.
Pedal to the metal. Right. No, I
Put the
got
pedal
you, girl.
on
I
that.
understand what you're talking about. So, oh, goodness. I mean, it's been a journey. And I will say this. The final motivation for me to write this book, because I've always had it inside of me, just,
Yes.
like I mentioned earlier, from different things that I experienced growing up as a little girl in New Orleans. Lots of traumatic things my sister saw, lots of horrific domestic violence against my mother. And once I went through my divorce, actually 3 years ago, I was at the lowest point in my life. And I found myself just with myself. And sometimes that's a good place to be in, and all the time we don't want to. It's a scary place. And I used that time to just kind of start writing. And I love journaling anyway.
Okay.
And so I just started writing out my feelings, how I felt, my anger, my frustrations, and I found it to be extremely healing for me.
Okay.
And I started writing my book. I took a solo trip, a birthday gift to myself, the summer of 2018. And on that trip is when the birth of The Light of My Shadows was born. I took that trip, again, very scary, out of the country, by myself, lonely, and I'm like, okay, Lord, what am I doing? Why am I here? And I chose to go by myself.
Okay.
People, I didn't tell many people that I was going, but the people who knew, they asked, do you want to go by yourself?
Yeah.
Or I said, no, I want to go by myself. I want to do this by myself. So I booked my own excursions. I took, my computer to the beach. I wrote, I journaled, and the book was born. I think I got through the first 2 chapters on that trip.
Did you have the book first or the title first?
I had the title first.
Yeah.
I had the title first because that was my foundation. That was my framework. And for me, I knew that there had to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And, I leaned on, my Savior. I leaned on my spiritual father above to kind of get me through this situation. And for me, that is the light.
Yeah.
And, there are many different, religions and practices and beliefs, but I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. And so I believe the light lives inside of all of us.
Yes.
He's love. So we are love. And
Yes.
so I started to pour that love back into myself.
Okay.
And we have to start there. We have to first acknowledge. We have to start with acknowledgement. Okay, this really did happen.
Right.
A lot of times we don't want to start there. We want to go somewhere else with it, or push it up under the rug, or pretend that it didn't happen because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And not just the divorce, but many different things that I've experienced was truly embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anybody to know about that.
So tell me this: what would your advice be to someone who wants to write a book? So in your book, you may not mention names, but you tell a story that if that person you're talking about reads it, they're going to know that it's them,
They
right?
will know that it's them.
That was one of the things that I was faced with a challenge. That challenge it was a challenge for me when it came to certain stories that I did want to share, but I knew that perhaps a family member or friend would not be ready for that.
Yeah.
So how did your mom feel about certain stories being shared?
My
Let's start with
goodness.
mom.
before the book was published, and she knew I was writing a book the whole time. She didn't know what it was about. She didn't know all the elements. She knew the driving force behind it, but she didn't know all the elements that was going to be in the book.
Okay.
So right before I sent it off for editing, I was like, Mama, I got my book almost finished. You want to read it? You want to take a look at it? And she was like, yeah, of course, sure. So I sent her, the electronic copy.
Okay.
And she literally started that book. That night I gave it to her, and she was up that night. And the next morning, she was still sitting at that computer, and she was reading. And I went down to the kitchen. I didn't say nothing to her. And she came down, and I could just see in her face the joy, the sadness, every emotion. I could see it in her eyes, because it's almost like she had to relive some of that too.
Yes.
And some of the things in the book she didn't even know about that had happened to me or that I had experienced.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so
that part.
Because a lot of times when we go through things, we don't tell our parents everything. We just deal, and we may have one person that we share things with, and she didn't know, and she was like, if I would have known.
Oh my gosh!
I would have known.
What's so funny is I did not send my book to my mom.
You didn't?
And dad. They would have to get it on their own, and I know that they haven't, because there was one part in the book I said I'm going to know when they read it.
When they read it,
and perhaps they don't.
You think they got it, or they just haven't said anything? You don't think so? Wow,
no.
Syndy.
I don't think. But what they don't realize is nothing like. Nothing crazy,
exactly.
In there,
but it's just things you hadn't shared.
Yeah, right. And I think that there's one part in there that I know that I would get a phone call. It was one part in there that everyone called me on. Everyone called me on that part because they didn't know, and they were around me during that time, and they didn't know. You know how we suffer in silence,
and we wear a smile, but we're crying on the inside, and. Same with me. People did not know. They was like, oh my gosh, I would have never known. Like, you always look so happy.
Yes.
Like, you were always smiling. You never missed a beat. Your pictures were always, you all look so happy. And people don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. My mother-in-law, she just said, she's read it. I know, Mom, because you called
goodness.
me.
Thank
I don't think we ever had our conversation about it. But, all right, but what would your advice be for someone who wants to write something, but they're afraid of it's their truth, right? They have a right to share their truth, but they're afraid of what a mom, a dad, a cousin, a friend, or something might say. What would be your advice?
My advice is go for what you feel and what you want. It's your truth. It's your story. You have to have a critical conversation with yourself, and you can't live your life for someone else. You can't write your story based on what someone else feels, because it is your truth. And I had really hard times with that myself with my book. Some nights I would just have to put it down and say, you know what, I need a minute. I'm gonna have to put this down and go back to it at a later time.
Yes.
Because I knew the things that were in the book. Like you said, if someone else read it and they know me and they know the people, they would know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And so I just had to pray on that, and I said, you know what, this is my truth.
Yes.
And it's scary because you're so vulnerable, and you're putting yourself out there for the world to critique.
Do you think it's unfair for someone to require you not to share something?
I do.
I do too.
I do. I think it's unfair.
Yeah.
Because now you have to ask yourself, well, why?
Yeah.
What is it that you're afraid of? You know, and a lot of times there's embarrassment.
It's other people.
It's other people, Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair.
Exactly. Agreed.
Yes.
Okay. So write your book. Okay.
Write your book. Write your book. Keep going. Keep going.
Because it is a healing process.
It's a healing journey.
Writing it, you might relive it, but you're not in it anymore. So I felt like it was a different perspective.
Yes.
That I could take from it. From there.
Yes.
I want to get into the first shine habit.
Yes.
So self-love is the best love. So why, when I read that, me knowing you as you are, how could Rencia not love herself enough, right? When you see the smile that you always carry a smile. Anybody that I have ever heard speak on you is always, she's just so pleasant, so nice, so just welcoming. Like, it's always been positive things that you give off.
Yes.
And sometimes you're like, you can't give off that if you don't have it in you. So explain that, where you said that you weren't loving yourself enough.
Yeah. So that's, that is one of my favorite chapters in the entire book. Self-love is the best love, because sometimes we think that we are loving ourselves, but in reality we're not, because we're hurting inside and we're trying to accommodate everyone else besides ourselves, thinking that's going to bring us happiness.
Yes.
And for me, that's the place that I was in. Writing that first chapter, and I talk about when I was on the plane,
Yes.
Traveling, and, when the stewardess said what she said about the life vest, I was like, that is so me. Like, I did not secure my own life vest first. I secured everybody else's. I secured my ex-husband's life vest before my own, which caused me internally to not be happy.
So I want to talk about that, because you talk about your relationship with your ex-husband, and early on, like right at the honeymoon.
Right at the honeymoon.
Right at the honeymoon.
Right at the honeymoon.
What red flags did you miss?
Oh, girl, so many. Honestly, so many, even before the marriage. I missed so many. And the ones that I missed were anger. He had a temper.
Clearly, he showed that thing.
He would go 0 to 100.
Did he show
quick.
it before the marriage?
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
And, I always say it is something that honestly shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad that it happened.
Okay.
Because I would not be the person that I am today if those things did not happen. Everything happens for a reason in the season, and we have to be accountable. And I had to be accountable. I had to be accountable for, this is who I chose. This is who I accepted. Let me say that.
Sure, yes.
Not chose.
I like that responsibility and
I
accountability.
accepted. And so I had to have that accountability. And but I saw the red flags, and it's something I say, don't miss them. Don't miss those red flags. We want what we want.
What did you tell yourself when you first saw the anger before your marriage? What did you tell yourself?
I downplayed it.
Yeah,
I downplayed it. Oh, who am I to judge? That's me.
Okay.
Who am I to
Okay.
judge?
Okay.
Everybody has mistakes. Everybody has faults,
Sure.
And you try to reason it. Humans are the only people that will try to reason away a mistake. That's what we do. And so I would try to reason it away. And I think, too, there was some embarrassment with that.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be the peacemaker in a situation.
Yes.
And so for me, that's
We're
what
going
it
to talk about that,
was.
because you have a chapter called Kindness is the Ultimate
Kindness
Killer.
is the ultimate killer.
We're going to get into
Yeah.
that as well. Okay, so you had your engagement, your marriage, and your divorce. I remember that time. I remember when you got married. We didn't know each other that well. I mean, we knew we were Spelman sisters, but we didn't know each other that well. But we were following each other on social media and all that kind of thing.
We knew of each other.
Yes. And then my friends know I am such a. I notice everything. A lot of things that many won't notice. And I remember just all of a sudden, no more pictures of you both. And so.
You and so many other people. Oh, my goodness.
And so I went on Inspector Gadget, right? I'm swiping and all the pictures gone, And I was like, okay. I said, and me having been through a divorce, I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if anything happened. I didn't know, But what I did say, I said, if something has happened, she is quiet about it for a reason, and good for her. And that's just where I left it.
That's
but
where
I never,
it.
I never knew. But my point in bringing that up is, what was your silence for? Were you embarrassed? Were you, when it came to your close friends or your organizations you're in, like, what was the quietness for when you made those moves?
So it was embarrassment. That's number one. But I knew, okay, so what I did, you're right. I took all the pictures away.
Yes.
That was the first thing. And then I changed my last name back.
Yes.
And so I knew for sure, okay, if they don't know, they will know.
They're going to know. That's your way of letting them know, and we don't need to talk about it.
That was my way, of letting people know. And then I would get, DM messages, text messages, phone calls.
What's going on?
I
see something a little different.
I see something different,
What would your response be?
The people that were close to me, I would definitely let them know. It's a no.
Okay.
It's no longer, People that were not close to me, that really don't say nothing to me like
outside of that.
Right. No.
First of all, they shouldn't have been asking, but
right? But it just goes to show that people are watching.
True.
They are watching. And so, but then, that was the beginning of me being transparent and coming out of this quietness.
Yeah.
Coming out of this shell of, I don't want nobody to know.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed about this. I got to a point where I don't care.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
This is what happened. This is my truth. There are so many other people who are probably going through the same thing, have been through the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I started to come into my own about it. And I had no problem speaking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all.
I understand. I'm not quite sure if, I don't remember embarrassment, only because I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I was younger when I got married the first time. I was 22, I think.
You were young.
But I do remember feeling lost for sure.
Yeah.
I do remember not wanting to talk about it simply because I have no idea what to answer.
Right.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if we're going to be back together. I have no idea. I'm just lost out in these streets, right?
Right.
Right now. I remember that, that gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think on last week's show, we were talking about rediscovering yourself. How did you get out of that funk into that journey of rediscovering yourself and becoming stronger?
Yeah. So, I think I just had to go all the way to the bottom, which is what happened. So, the home that my ex-husband and I lived in, was a beautiful home. And the way that everything happened, I had to go back and live with my mother.
Yes.
I could not afford to pay for it by myself.
Yes.
And I think at that point, it was the lowest of the low. To have to go back into my old room that I spent, the majority of my young adult years in was humbling. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, Lord, we're here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this. You're going to have to help me through this. And he did. He started to give me strength in a way of me first looking at myself.
Okay.
And that's what I talk about with the love sparkle.
Yes, we're going to get to that.
The love sparkle. And so I had to it goes back to accountability. I had to first acknowledge, okay, this has happened. Why did it happen? Why did I accept? Why did I put up with? And it all boiled down to past trauma.
Yes.
Past hurt. And once I got to the bottom of all of that, that's when the true healing began.
So speaking of past trauma, I want to go into your next shine habit and your chapter called Know Your Why.
Yes.
Know Your Why. And, reading that chapter is like, gosh, past trauma, abandonment, life. You talk about the humble beginnings with you, your mother, and your sister, and just, gosh, moms can really, parents, but definitely moms can really just make it happen, and they just don't complain, they
don't complain at all. And that was my mother. I mean, never once. And still to this day, she does not complain. I mean, she made it happen by herself.
I talk about that, when it comes to my mom, in our journey, growing up. I thought she was, and I still believe this, she's the strongest woman on this earth. Mm-hmm. She's the strongest woman on this planet, having handled all the things that she was faced with that weren't her fault, know, and,
exactly.
Or just what life, brings you. And she just handled it with such grace, and just such strength. And you're like, where do you pull that from? When you're an adult and you look back at your parents and you're like, I don't even know if I would have made it.
Thank you.
I
don't know but that grace is something serious because, when we are given grace, it's growth.
Yes.
And mistakes allow for grace to happen.
Absolutely.
If there was not a mistake, there would be no grace. And we have to understand that.
Yes.
And so with that Know Your Why chapter, I talk about so many different elements of growing up when I was younger and how I came to understand what my why even was and what that even meant. So I had to dig deep and go all the way back.
And you went all the way back in that chapter. And so I'm going to pencil that because I don't want us to be cut off in that conversation at all, because you talk about when we're talking about knowing your why and how it can get hidden as you are dealing with life. You watched abuse from your daddy to your mom. I want to talk about that. Your sister was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
Type 1, yes.
A store robbery with a gun to your head.
Yes.
Listen, Linda. Okay, So that's why when we're going to take a break and we're going to go into that What Was Sensei, and I'm excited to hear Brincia's responses to some of the questions that we get on What Was Sensei.
Oh my goodness.
And then after that, we're going to get into her second chapter of Know Your Why, and just kind of, gosh, we can be weighed down by so much that we're not even thinking about our why at that point in time. So I'm going to have Brincia, talk us through, some of the trauma and traumatic things that she experienced and how you uncover yourself with all of that to discover who you are so you can thrive from there. So make sure you stay tuned in. Share. Give us a call, 678-383-2339. And make sure you stay tuned in. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. And we'll be right back.
If you're a content creator, social media socialite, influencer, or simply love to record current events, you need the joystick. The joystick is an essential tool for every type of digital content creator. It holds 2 or more mobile phones or tablets, allowing users to stream and record hands-free on multiple apps simultaneously. And it's lightweight and portable. For more information or to purchase your joystick today, visit our website at www.joystick.com.
Hey, this is Jay Nash from Mornings with Michael and Jay Nash. And if you missed the show, you can catch us still weekdays, 8 a.m. right here on Power 108.9.
Yo, it's Michael McFadden for our friends over at Credit Building Professionals. You know what they do? They help their clients achieve better credit. How? Late payments, fraud, liens, charge-offs, student loans. They do it all. Get results in 30 to 90 days, and it's very simple to contact them. Hit them up on their website, creditbuildingprofessionals.com, or give them a call, 678-447-2012. Once again, 678-447-2012. Tell them you heard it on Power 108.9. What up, Credit Craig?
Keep up with Power 108.9 on social media. Instagram and Facebook at Power 108.9. It's the exact same thing. It's at Power 108.9. Okay. Power 108.9, a station for the people. In a world of petty and immature people, it's refreshing to hear a morning show that has sophisticated hosts such as Michael McFadden and Jay Nash. Don't believe me? Take a listen.
But shout out to our friends over there at Credit Building Professionals. What up, Credit Craig?
I tried to come with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's what she said.
Oh.
Hey.
Power 108.9, a station for the people.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from across the nation and around the world, your mentor, your coach, your sensei. Listen close. This is What Would Sin Say?
Welcome back. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. It is time for that What Would Sin Say, when we try our best to answer your questions that you slide on up in them DMs or that you post in some of the groups that I'm in. Michael, what you got for us?
So I am reading these questions freestyling. I did not pre-read. I'm going to show you how well my Atlanta public school education has worked for me over these years. Shout out to my English teacher at the Frederick Douglass High School. Hey, I'm legally separated and dating another guy. He's a nice guy. He treats me well, helps me when I fall apart. If he sees that I'm having a hard time, he gives me the warmest hugs and kisses. He's been staying with me for a while, but lately I've been catching him in some lies. They're a little stupid lies, too. I feel like if I catch the small lies, what else has he been lying about? We talk about getting married and maybe having kids. I just don't know. Please help.
All right, Brincia, what you think?
So let's just go back. So she is legally separated, so she's not divorced yet.
No.
So you can't think about anything else until you take care of what you got going on.
And that's the truth.
That is the truth, bottom line in the story. And you know, if he's telling lies, you know, it's almost like he can see straight through what's going on.
I'm so glad you said that. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially I think in that she said something like when I'm feeling down or whatever.
Right.
Like, he's not really trying to do all of that.
He's not doing all that. No, he's trying to have some fun. Sound like he's trying to
he
have
might
a
give you
good
some
little
hugs
time.
and stuff, but he's
Right.
really not trying to carry that weight.
He's not,
ma'am. So I'm gonna need you not to be concerned with his lies. I'm gonna need you to be concerned with closing that chapter or reopening it, whatever it is that you want to
Right.
do. You know
I
what
agree.
I'm saying?
I agree.
I wish if my wife was feeling down and all I had to do was give her hugs, it will solve everything. Nah, partner, it don't work like that. All right, check this one out. I'm interested in seeing how you view this situation and how you feel marriage impacts this situation. All right, your husband calls you every day on your way home from work. As soon as he gets off work, around 5, maybe a few minutes after that. One day, on your way home from work, you pass him a few minutes before 5, going in a different direction. And at that time, he should be talking to you. But then you notice that there's a girl in the car. When you ask about this girl, he tells you that he's taking a coworker to pick up her car from a body shop down the street. When you mention that you weren't notified about this, you said nothing about this, and that you are very alarmed about this, and then he becomes furious and calls you psycho. Thoughts? Is this completely unacceptable? Wouldn't that be a big deal?
Absolutely, it would be. Yeah, because now you're projecting. Now you are projecting, and he know he's in the wrong.
He totally in the wrong.
He totally understands.
Oh, you gonna get
that
mad at
he's
me?
Yeah. For
So
what?
first of all, I tell y'all about when y'all change those patterns. Y'all change those patterns that get you caught every time. But for the fact that he doesn't recognize or understand that he needs to give you a shout. I'm not saying don't take the lady up the street if she just has no other options, but give me a call.
Yeah, let's communicate about that.
Don't let anybody else call me and tell me, oh, I saw your man with so and so. I want to be able to say, oh yeah, he told me he took up the street.
You already know about this.
Exactly. Don't let me be blindsided.
Right.
Exactly. And then number 2, the fact that you're upset with me for asking you about that is a problem for me.
That's a big problem.
It's unacceptable.
Very unacceptable.
So back in 92 when my girlfriend called me cheating, I told her, well, if your ass wouldn't have came home early from work,
you know what?
wouldn't have
I'm
called.
not dealing with you today.
That's not acceptable?
Unacceptable.
All right, my bad.
Unacceptable.
I'm just checking.
That is so unacceptable.
All right. Wait, I have to read this. Lydia said, it's completely unacceptable. First of all, he would not be just finding out that I'm psycho, but that's beside the point.
All right, here we go. Here's a go right here. Would you consider your husband a loser if, for a year, he didn't work, even though he could, but still miraculously somehow contributes financially? Last February, right before the one-nighter hit, he went to Vegas and won $16,000. Then 3 weeks later, he lost his job and has been unemployed ever since and still refuses to look for a job. Luckily, we've never experienced as big of a financial hit as other did with my paycheck and his. And full disclosure, before COVID, I was able to work part-time hours while he made decent money so I could stay home and work with the kids. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, I want to know your true opinion. Do I have the right to be annoyed and tell him to get a freaking job already?
Okay, Rencia, what's your thoughts?
I absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But I think the part that he refused to get, what is that about? Why are you refusing?
So the way that I look at this, she said it's only been a year,
Okay.
right? So I look at it as a couple things. He really enjoying them unemployment and stimulus and them pandemic unemployment checks. And
How
he's
far is that
like,
gonna
I
take
could, I could just stay home and accept these instead of making the same amount. That's what I think part of it is. 2, she said that she was able to stay, only work part time before be home with the kids. I want to say that men go through depression too. Men go through, I'm not saying that's what he's going through, but sometimes if their pattern changes and they just kind of get in a funk that you're not accustomed to them, like if he was a hard worker all these other years, because she said only 1 year.
Only 1 year,
yeah.
right.
To me, that says it's something else. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's like, let me just use this break for a second. Or he's going through something. And as strong as our men try to make themselves look, they go through depression too.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you might just got to get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Well, maybe this guy right here is depressed. My significant other just works and sleep. I get it. He works a lot. But I like him to be a part of things, and he just sleeps through it all, either on the couch or in the bedroom. It's sad and frustrating. Any advice?
Oh, so if he sleeps all the time, what type of job?
Right.
She didn't mention what type of job he has. So my mind first, maybe he really is tired.
Right.
And he needs to rest, and he don't want to go. Maybe he just doesn't want to go, and this is your opportunity to go and enjoy yourself and let him sleep. And then when he's rested, he might want to get up and take you somewhere or go somewhere with you.
Agreed. So it's either, I completely agree with that. Like, leave a man alone during the week, okay?
Right.
Like, let's find your day where it's like, okay, just letting you know Saturday is our day. So he can kind of mentally prepare, because he's going to be tired that day, but at least he can prepare for that day. But you trying to kick it every day now. He
is like, I'm trying to work
12-hour shifts or more.
Right. I'm trying to get these coins, and you trying to go somewhere.
Yes. So I know sometimes when you are in a new job or a new position, and the hours are different, like you can be exhausted, and sometimes it just takes you getting accustomed to that new. It could be a number of things. We don't know what he does. It could be like the last guy. He might be depressed.
Could be.
Sleep all day, but she said he works a lot. So the man is tired. Leave the man alone. Cook him something to eat and just let him go lay down. Go lay down.
And, I agree with that, because sometimes we as women can be, just a little overbearing at times.
Yes, a lot.
Back up and just kind of understand and ask some questions.
Just don't jump to just ask the man.
Ask a question. A question not gonna hurt nobody.
Right. It's not. All right, you got another one? That's it? Oh, they made it easy on you today, Michael. So that's our What Was Sensei. That wasn't too bad, was it? That wasn't too bad
that wasn't
today.
bad at all.
Because sometimes they can get a little cray.
Well, okay.
A little 7:30 crazy.
So
all right.
obviously Lydia didn't send any questions this week.
Don't test her now. She'll put one in the comment. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we're diving right back into Know Your Why, Chapter 2 of The Light of My Shadows. When we come back, make sure you share. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for today's very best tasting juices and smoothies? Then look no further than coldpressgwinnett.org. Our premium juices are never diluted and never pasteurized. They are always 100% delicious and 100% organic. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's time to give your body what it craves to stay fit and healthy. Give us a call at 678-696-1011 to place your orders today, or visit us online at coldpressgwinnett.org. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's the very best tasting juice you'll ever have.
Hive is the all-new online eyewear boutique and is your new spot for hand-picked, fashion-framed glasses. Styles for men and women for winter, summer, spring, and fall. Everything you need to protect your eyes and look good doing it. Check us out online at hive-life.com. That's HYVE-life.com. And on Insta at Hive_Hive, helping your vision evolve. Trendy, classic, fashion frames.
Looking for t-shirts and hoodies for the entire family? Check us out at loveus.us, an apparel brand dedicated to celebrating the authentic love of all people. Come shop with us at www.loveus.us. Enter code Syndy B to get 10% off your purchase.
Are you looking for today's very best tasting juices and smoothies? Then look no further than coldpressgwinnett.org. Our premium juices are never diluted and never pasteurized. They are always 100% delicious and 100% organic. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's time to give your body what it craves to stay fit and healthy. Give us a call at 678-696-1011 to place your orders today, or visit us online at coldpressgwinnett.org. That's coldpressgwinnett.org. It's the very best tasting juice you'll ever have.
The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Hey, bad bitches wanna be my babe. Hey, hunt me down like the CIA. Hey,
Welcome back. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. I've got my girl, Miss shining her light herself. Miss Brent here. Say hey to people one more time. All right, we're going to jump right on back in.
Let's get back into it, Miss Syndy.
Because we are only in chapter 2 at this point.
We are only in chapter 2 and it's 10.
Okay. All right. So, chapter 2, Know Your Why. And we were talking about before the What Would Sin Say that sometimes we can be burdened down by so much that life can hit us with that we're not even thinking about, you know, our why. And so in chapter 2, you talked about some really, really heavy things. One of the things you talked about was the abuse that you all witnessed from your dad to your mom. So how long, because I know you mentioned a scenario when you were 5, and then you all moved to Atlanta. So I feel like it was like the duration, was it?
Well, so that was still in New Orleans. I was still living in New Orleans at that time. And when we moved, it was a duration.
Yeah.
It was from 5 until I moved to Atlanta. So, yeah.
So how was that? Did mom pick you all up and leave because?
She did not. So the way God works, and I just love him so much, my mother had a job transfer.
Okay.
That put us in a completely different state that came out of the blue.
Wow.
Literally.
That's definitely God.
After the last incident that I talk about in the book, you know, where in those who don't have the book, please get the book.
Please.
But
if Mom, I know you're on here.
Hey, Mom.
Mom, can you drop her Amazon link if you get a chance?
Yes, but the last incident that happened between, you know, my dad and my mom, I want to say it was only a couple of months, maybe 3 or 4 months after that, that my mother got the notification that her job would be moving to Atlanta, a completely different state.
Wow.
Which meant, you know, at the time we were still in school. So she didn't want to pull us out of school in the middle of the school year. You know, we had a couple more months left before it was summer.
Okay.
And so my mom's mom at the time, my grandmother, she came to live with us while my mother transferred and left us there to complete the school year.
Gotcha.
And then we came after that.
Okay.
But that was nothing but God.
Wow.
That was nothing but
Was
God.
Dad
because it
home
came
when
so
your grandmother
sporadic.
came?
No, he didn't live with us.
Got it.
He
so
did
he
not.
would just pop up when he wanted to.
Yes. He did not live with us, and he didn't have a key to get in.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, he wasn't there.
Wow. He wasn't there, but he made sure he was there when he wanted to be.
When he, yeah, I don't even want to say that, but
Gotcha. I
yeah.
gotcha.
But let me just say this. I love my dad.
Yes.
And I had to get to a point where I did.
How does one love a family member when you witness, I'm gonna put it out there, and you witnessed, I don't know if it was just you or you and your sister.
Me and my sister both.
Witnessed your dad break into the home.
Yes.
Abuse your mom.
Yes.
And rape her.
Yes.
While you all were there.
While he actually put us in a corner facing the wall and cut the phone line so that we could not call out. And that's what we witnessed. And it was the most traumatic thing ever.
Yes.
And it took me a
And
long
you were 12?
time. I was 12 at that time. I was 12 when this happened. And, you know, my sister and I pretty much had to potentially testify against my dad in court.
Yeah.
And so with that, it took a long time for me to forgive my dad. And I knew I had to.
Right.
Because if I did not, it was going to hinder me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to. So I had to pray on that. Because I said, well, God, you know, the type of love and forgiveness that you show us, I need to be able to show him that type of love. Because if I do not show him that, then I am going to burden myself and
Yes.
hinder myself for the rest of my life.
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to establish relationships with men. I'm not going to, it's going to be a weight. So that was a
Yes.
huge shadow that I needed to break through.
When did you get to that point?
It was later on in my 20s. I want to say probably mid 20s or maybe late 20s.
Okay.
That I really, even when I got married, the first thing, I wasn't going to invite my dad to the wedding.
Okay.
And then I said, that's not right. He is my dad. Okay, he can come, but he can sit in the audience.
Okay.
Okay, well, you know what? If I have someone else walking me down the aisle and it's not him, I just went through all these different emotions. And so I ended up having him walk me halfway and my mother picking up and they both doing the rest of it. Now, what that did, it was very healing for a lot of people that was at that wedding.
Okay.
That knew of the situation. It was
Wow.
very healing for me to be able to witness something like that. But at the same time, I knew that I had to forgive him. Even though at the time I couldn't stand him, I had to get to a point where I had to forgive him.
Yeah.
And it was freeing for me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, how was your mom? How did she feel? Because I know you had to bring it to her.
yeah, I did. I had to bring it to her. And my mother is always, she's always so gracious and she's always so patient and so poised. And, she basically said, that's your dad. And one thing I will say is my mother never talked bad about my dad. Never. Everything that she went through, she never uttered one single bad word about him. She still allowed us to go over, to my dad's side of the family and, be with my cousins and my aunts and grandmother and everything. And so she said, at the end of the day, that's still your dad, and that's your decision to make. I can't make that decision for you.
What do you think it was with your dad?
I
What
honestly
triggered
believe
him?
I honestly believe he just didn't know any better, and I never met my dad's dad, my grandfather, and so I don't know if he was in his life or not.
Gotcha.
I don't know that.
Okay.
My dad was an entertainer. He writes records and music and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's what it was. At one point I do believe, he had gotten into a little bit of, drugs and things
Sure.
like that. So it could have been a number of reasons.
Gotcha.
But when we don't know better, we don't do better.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
so that's really all I can say. I don't know. At that age, when you're so young, you can't even process it.
If you didn't experience anything else traumatic or troubling or challenging in your life, that was enough.
That was enough
by itself, but that wasn't it.
But it wasn't it.
That wasn't it.
And I think, going back to that chapter, Know Your Why, that was the why that I received from that chapter. We have to have unconditional forgiveness. And I learned that in that experience. Going back, I didn't know it at the time, but going back and looking at it, that was the reason why that happened in my mind.
Yeah, I got
For
you.
me.
Yeah.
Now, it could be something totally different for my sister, for my mother, but for me, it was unconditional forgiveness.
Okay. I'm a believer in forgiveness. I think when it comes to forgiveness, that there's that difference between forgiving, but yet we don't have to fellowship anymore. You know, so I think that's important that you can forgive and genuinely forgive someone without picking up where you left off, or
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes,
we can do that.
And I think if people can understand that more, it doesn't mean that forgive and you have to start up a relationship again.
Right, exactly.
I think that people could learn to forgive more. Forgive more, because it doesn't mean that if I forgive, then we got to be friends again, or we got to.
No, it really, the forgiveness is more for you than it is for them.
It really is.
Yeah, and it, like you said, it doesn't mean now we have to be buddy the best of friends, or for my dad, it doesn't even mean we have to have that type of relationship anymore. It just means that I forgive you and I'm able to move forward.
Exactly.
That's what that means.
Exactly. Okay, so then you talk about your discovering your sister had type 1 diabetes, and thankfully you recognize that, even though you said that you thought she was just taking a little extra Z's, just an extra sleep, and that was not the case at all.
That was not the case, Lord. So we had taken a girls' trip. This was mid-20s, and it had to be about maybe 7 of us, maybe not 7, maybe 5 of us. And we had taken a girls' trip to L.A. and then Vegas, and we were going to The Price is Right. We had gotten tickets to go to The Price is Right. And so, Price is Right.
Yes.
Everybody want to be on The Price is Right.
Exactly.
So gotten tickets to go to The Price is Right, and we all up that morning getting dressed. It's a bunch of girls in the room, but she's still asleep, and they just thinking she's still waiting on the bathroom. Somebody's to come out. Well, I'm looking at her like she's not moving.
Oh my
and so I
gosh.
go over to her, and she's uttering gibberish. And I knew at that moment, I said, okay, something's not right. Her sugar must be low, so I had them go get some juice, get some candy. By that time, she's just incoherent. She's incoherent. So we called 911, they come, they had to give her a bolus of, sucrose and did all her vitals and had to stay with her until it came up.
Wow.
But the thought of us sleeping in,
oh my gosh.
Say if we didn't have to go to the Price is Right and we were all just sleeping in, we would not have known anything. So that happened for a reason. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord. So needless to say, we wasn't thinking about the Price is Right.
Right,
At that point.
exactly.
That was non-existent. So they got her, back, and she was good. I think that day we just kind of took it easy and just reflected a little bit. But yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
that happened.
And then you fast forward. You come to Atlanta. You get your little gig, your little job.
Yeah. Actually, when that happened, I was actually already in Atlanta. I was at Spelma when that happened.
Oh wow.
I was at Spelma when that happened.
Okay. All right. So the robbery happened before.
The robbery happened when I was in high school.
Okay. But in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Okay.
I was in high school. I just moved to Atlanta. I was working at Wendy's.
Okay.
Wasn't my first job. It was my second. But I was working the cash register, and I was working nights that night. And, taking the order, it was almost time for close, and these two guys came in. I didn't think anything of it. They both walked up as if they were going to order food, and I'm, looking down, taking the order. Before I noticed, out of the side of my eye, I saw one guy go around to the back, and the other guy just hop over the counter and push me to the ground, and everything just flashed.
Yes.
It all happened so quick. I didn't know what to think. I honestly don't remember getting the money out of the register. I remember the gun being against me. I remember composing myself to get up to even open the cash register, and I'm just, it's almost like I went blank.
Right.
But I was still able to do what he was asking me to do. And it was so scary. And, oh goodness, I'm not going to tear up. But,
that's okay.
I think to myself, if that was it, if that night was the end for me, what would that have meant?
How are people remembering Bencia?
How are people going to remember me?
Yes.
And I think from that day is when I started to really just live life.
Yes.
I did. I was like, Lord, you have to have something better for me than this.
So my question to you is, I remember a period of time in my life where I just was like, geez, Lord, like, can I breathe?
Right.
Can I breathe?
Right.
And so you're just reading, your journey and the things that you went through. That came to my mind, like, gosh, like back to back, like, why, it appears sometimes that some people carry a lot more, or they're faced with a lot more than it seems like some others, right? And when you're talking about knowing your why, explain what your perspective of the experiences that you went through to kind of discover and rediscover who you are to get to knowing what your why is.
Yes, so that's important because, a lot of times when we're going through things, we're not thinking about that. And honestly, I wasn't thinking about it at that time. It wasn't until I was reflecting over my life after I went through my divorce, when I was writing my book, that I started to uncover some of the whys and reflect and say, okay, let me go back and understand all the different things that I'm carrying, all the different burdens. Why did these things happen? What can I take from that? What did I learn from that? And, I always say there's strength and strain and purpose and pain. And that's what it was for me. And that's how I got through it. That's how I understood it. Each one of those situations that were traumatic, I had to go back and understand, first acknowledge it, understand why it happened, what was the lesson I learned in that, and I was able to move forward from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like when you said, and I remember reading this in the book, that some pain leads to purpose. And I think that kind of goes into just, finding your why and finding your purpose,
Yes. Yes.
And so then you go into your next chapter, be uniquely you. What do you mean by that?
Okay. In this world that we live in now of quick, fast, and a hurry, swipe left, swipe right, and it's easy to get caught up, in trying to either do something that's really not for you to do, be someone that's really not who you are. That's easy to do. And so when I say be uniquely you, all of us are different in our own ways, and that's what make us unique.
Yeah.
And so the different things that we carry, for me, what makes me unique is my past experiences, how I got through those, what I learned, what I can share, how I can motivate another person. That's what makes me uniquely Brencia, right? Someone else may have a different story. You know, I'm a nurse. And people say, oh, my goodness, girl, I could never do that. Like, how do you do that?
Right.
It's not for everybody,
Right.
right? You know, I would never go and try to, you know, do something that I can't do.
Right.
And so when we are uniquely us, we give people a chance to really see us.
Yes.
And when I not see us with our eyes, I mean really see us.
See to the soul, to the spirit, and the heart of us. Yes.
We allow people to see us for who we really are.
Yeah.
And not someone else. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I know that you have like some. Who are the people that have influenced you?
Oh goodness. Okay, so first off, my mother, and I always got, because I witnessed, I was there.
Yes.
Just her strength.
Yes.
There is no one like her. So definitely my mother. My elementary school principal, Miss Audrey M. Cox, rest her soul, amazing.
Okay.
She laid the foundation for me and my sister and for everyone that attended the Learning Academy.
Okay.
Very private. The school was a house. It was a house in New Orleans that she turned into a school.
Okay.
And I attended the Learning Academy from 1st grade up through 6th grade.
Okay.
And the things that she instilled in us, oh my gosh, I mean, just prayer, just spirituality, confidence, everything. So, I mean, Miss Cox, you know, when you look at her, she just oozed class and grace and poise and, I mean, everything.
Wow.
So she definitely laid the foundation for me. And then, you know, over the years, you know, I met certain women.
Sure.
Of a specific sorority. I'm a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and so those women were extremely influential in my life.
Yes.
So yeah, there were quite a few that I admire and look up to, and I know this is, you know, Women's History Month. So yes, I definitely, you know, give accolades to all of those women. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
So with that, you know, having your influences and rediscovering who you are and finding your why, being uniquely you, you talk about in your book, you know, how you had to go back and reevaluate some of the friendships and relationships that you had that were misaligned.
Yes.
Talk about how does one do that with class and grace?
Oh my goodness.
Or can you do it with class and grace?
You know what? We can.
Yes.
We can. You know, we can. It just takes some reflection, and everything doesn't deserve a response.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we understand where we're going and where we're trying to go in life, we want to align ourselves with those that are going in that same direction and that are pulling us in a positive direction as opposed to a negative direction. We want to surround ourselves with people that are going to clap for us when we win. You know, the same way we clap for them when they win.
Yes.
Be of support. And you know, when you really look at it, you have to have sometimes critical conversations, or sometimes you don't have to have a conversation at all.
Yeah.
You just, with grace and poise, you can easily just create distance.
Yes.
You know, put space, and you know, eventually it'll become further and further away.
What would be your advice when it comes to, you know, realigning who belongs in your life, who belongs in your space, who you spend your energy and time with? What would be your advice when someone is doing that with style, poise, and grace, but they receive such negativity, you know, from that person or those persons, where they go out because they're hurt of the space? You did it the way that you were supposed to, in a mature kind of way, communication, if communication was, you know, necessary. But they're so hurt and whatever, you know, whatever the ego is talking, and they go and trash your name.
Girl. So I've experienced that.
Me too.
On a couple of occasions, okay? What I did, I tried to have a conversation, okay? One particular person, very, very close girlfriend of mine.
Okay.
Like sisters, right? Okay. And literally out of nowhere, literally last year, completely went left. And I'm trying to understand what's going on. And it started happening around the time that a lot of the doors started opening.
Okay.
And I didn't understand it. And I noticed that she wasn't present, for certain events and certain things. And but then when the slander came, I guess,
yeah,
I had to have a conversation.
Okay.
No conversation. She did not want to have a conversation.
Of course, yes.
And so at that point, I had to let it go. I just had to leave it where it was. And that's it. Because all the time, we have to recognize that it's not for us to try to fix everything, especially when you gave it a good shot and you don't understand exactly where it's coming from or the why behind it.
Yeah.
The second situation, I actually was able to have a conversation with the person, and it was a good conversation. I thought it was an okay conversation, but that relationship was never the same after that, and that's okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So it has happened, and we just have to be okay with letting go.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
That's fine.
And sometimes that can be so hard for other people if they're not in that conscious thinking and that maturity level that sometimes things are for a season. And what I also say, sometimes, especially, when you're having friendships at a young age and you're still figuring out life and who you are and things like that, there were some friendships that were never supposed to be.
Absolutely. You said something with that, because the previous person that I was talking about, we're talking a 20-year friendship. Yeah. And once I go back and think about it, I'm like, was that really supposed to be?
Right.
Was this a beneficial type of situation for that person? What was that?
Right.
Right. But we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I've gotten to the point in my life. At this point, if you are not aligned, I can feel it and I know it, and I'm 100% okay with the distance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%. Now, there's sometimes there are people that we had, a good relationship or a good vibe or whatever it is that you want to call it. So I will have a conversation with you once.
Once.
And just once, and
one time.
Yeah, just once, and then after that, if anything comes after that, or you say, I'm gonna leave you to whatever you want to say, I'm gonna leave you to that. Because one thing that I do know is when people do wrong by me, I'm gonna continue to do right.
Oh gosh, Syndy, say that one more time. You have to.
When people do wrong by me, I'm going to continue to do right.
Continue to do right. You have to.
I had a scenario just yesterday. I was out, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I was out celebrating a birthday.
Okay.
We were doing the paint and sit thing. Okay. And I was not realizing I was sitting across from someone who had kind of, did something hurtful. I didn't know her personally, at the time, or, then. But she looked different, so I didn't really recognize her.
Got it.
Anyway, at the end of the night, but we were just laughing it away. She was sitting across from me. We were just laughing away, and at the end of the night, she was like, I've met you before. And I said,
oh, my goodness.
I said, really? She said, I was supposed to do your hair once, or something like that. And I said, what's your name? And so she said her name. Immediately, I knew who she was.
You knew exactly who it was.
And I said, yes, I know who you are. And I said, and you really hurt my feelings back then.
See?
And I said, I had such a big event going on, at that time, and the way that you handled it just really hurt me,
Oh, wow.
But what I loved was she told me, she said, I am so sorry. She said the space that I was in at that time, it wasn't the best place. I was being taken advantage of by people left and right, and I put you in that category, and you didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And but what she said to me, she said, but the way that you handled that, she said, you could have gone off on me. You could have done this, that, or the other. She was like, you didn't. And she always remembered that. And I said, I receive all of that, because we were just laughing away,
right,
It's not like we're about to be BFFs or anything, but
you got that closure, and you were able to have that a critical conversation.
Yes, but what ends up happening is when you do people right, that's going to come back. It's going to circle back around.
It's going to circle back around.
Oh, so it makes all the sense now. The night I introduced you to sing that day at that show, that's why your hair looked like that. I get it now.
Cold-blooded. I'm gonna hurt you after the show.
Oh
He's so silly. But yeah, so when you just do right by people, no matter. Now I'm not saying be a rug that people can stomp or anything like that. You just be like, I'm gonna let you have that.
Yeah, you just gotta let them have it.
Yeah.
And you keep your composure, and you be, nice, polite, cordial.
Yes.
You kill them with kindness.
Yes, absolutely.
Kill them with kindness.
Absolutely. Okay, so I don't want to go into this next chapter and then have to cut off for a break. But
Okay.
when we come back, because this is such, I love this chapter. Because I was this person. The next chapter is kindness is the ultimate killer, and I definitely want to get all up into that, and you explain it and break it down, and and the stop phenomenon.
Oh,
I need you to break that down for the people. So we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what does Brincia mean when she says kindness is the ultimate killer. And I can't wait for her to break down the stop phenomenon so that you can walk away with some tips, walk away with something tangible that you can implement yourselves. So make sure you stay tuned in. Share if you haven't shared. We had to end, honey, but you should have been shared. But make sure you stay tuned in. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9, and we'll be right back. Because I was this person. Welcome back. You're listening to The Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. I've got my girl, Miss Brincia, in the building. Author, award-winning author.
Hey,
how did that
y'all.
feel?
Oh, my goodness. Amazing.
And you should feel that way.
Humble, but so proud of myself.
But when you pour your
honestly.
heart out like that and then to be recognized and to receive, I know that you've received so much support.
I have, and I'm so
during
grateful
this
for
period.
it.
Yes.
So grateful. So.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into, I think this is chapter 4. Kindness is the ultimate killer. So explain that first before we get into the stop phenomenon.
Okay. So, when we have people that have done us wrong, done us dirty, slandered our name, whatever. When you are kind to people, they're not expecting that.
Yeah.
They're expecting you to react. They're expecting you to entertain their petty.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't do that, you kind of throw a curveball.
Yes.
And sometimes it forces them to have to come back to you, like we spoke about a few minutes ago and apologize,
Yes.
turn the other cheek, or look at themselves and say,
Yes.
why am I even acting like this?
They'll look at themselves.
Look at
part.
themselves.
Mhm.
And that's ultimately what I need you to look at yourself.
And that's and that's what I like when it circles
Yes.
back around and they were able to reflect. Because if you come back with them with what they gave you,
Yep.
there's going to be no lessons learned here. There's no
lessons.
growth.
Exactly.
But if you just kill them with kindness, and like I think we were on the break when we were saying this, or maybe we were on air. It doesn't mean that you let people walk over you.
Oh no.
It's just that you don't meet them with that same level, especially when you don't even. That's not even who you are anymore. Either anymore or you just anymore or just not that person at all. One of the two.
Right.
And it can really, really carry a lot of weight.
It can carry a lot of weight.
So let's break down the STOP phenomenon. Where did that come from? And let's break down those acronyms.
Yes. So for me, so the STOP phenomenon, it's what I use in a situation where I might be irritated, upset, angry, whatever. And I had to get to this point. It wasn't always like that.
Okay.
Stop. S is for silence.
Yes.
So you have to silence yourself.
Yes.
Again, everything doesn't deserve a response.
Yes.
Sometimes, because if you respond quickly, sometimes you can say the wrong thing. You can't take it back.
Can't take it back.
You cannot. Once it's out, and you cannot retract that.
Yes.
So if we just kind of pause, silence ourselves, whether it's for an hour, a day, it could be a week.
And I want people to know that not everybody can handle silence. So during silence, their true nature is going to come out.
Oh, yeah, because everybody can't handle that.
They can't, man. They be like,
Yes.
what does it mean? Like, what does it mean? Oh, she hating. She doesn't. So I'm about to trash her. Ain't nobody even say nothing.
Exactly. Nobody has said anything.
Yes.
And it's funny you said that because we're going to go back to a situation we talked about earlier with, a girlfriend of mine that was a close friend. And I just gave it silence.
Yes.
I just gave it the space after I tried to understand what the problem was. I gave it some space. And about 3 months after that, came back with a long, nasty text message. And it was because I wasn't entertaining it anymore.
Yep.
I was quiet. So, everybody can't understand that.
Yes.
And so we have to be able to silence ourselves.
Yes.
When the time is right, T,
Yes.
for time, when the time is right, you will know when that time is right to address a situation.
Absolutely.
Because it's all about timing.
Absolutely.
Timing
And
can
you
make
can
or break
feel
it.
it. You can feel it, and then it will also align. The time,
Yes.
the space will align, and that's always been, from my experience where, it will. I was telling a really close friend of mine the other day, and it was. I may have written about this in the book, but I tell her this all the time. It was when, we've been friends for a very long time. She saw me through 2 weddings.
Okay.
But
it's okay.
Okay. But I remember when we had some space between us, and I had cut her off without explanation. And this is I talk about loyalty to principles and not people now, because back then I was loyal to people regardless of principles. If we was riding it out, even if you're wrong, I'm rolling with you.
Rolling with it.
And so now I don't live by being loyal to people. I'm loyal to principles. And if you're loyal to principles, you have the right people around you that you can be loyal to.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, in that particular scenario, I'm being loyal to, they were both my friends, but I'd known the others longer. And so they asked me not to say anything to her, which I'm going to communicate. I'm like, well, let's talk to her,
about it, right.
But because it wasn't my situation, I honored her saying, just don't say nothing. And we should have had a conversation about it, because then we all could have worked out like, well, she doesn't, you all really don't even know each other like that to even be concerned about what either person is doing. But anyway, fast forward, I remember experiencing like, I should have never cut her off. Like, I should have never done that, and I remember praying like, Lord, just give me an opportunity to make it right. It was years later. It was probably, I'm thinking maybe like 7 years later or something like that. We're in New Orleans. We both live in Atlanta.
Okay.
We're in New Orleans. You know how many restaurants we can go to. Not only are we in the restaurant, we're in a busy restaurant during
was it Mardi Gras?
Mardi Gras.
Okay.
No, not Mardi Gras. Essence
Festival. Okay.
So you know how busy it is.
Busy. People everywhere.
And not only that, because they were so full, there was only one table left in the back. All the way in the back in like a room.
see how
And
it shapes up.
And when I look over there and I saw her, I thank
That
God
was your
because I always
opportunity.
wanted to apologize for handling her that way. And I mean, and then it took some time because she never knew why I cut her off.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
I just, and you know, I learned so much from that, you know, particular, you know, scenario. But my point in bringing that up is timing. You know, timing
is
is everything. When it comes to, you know, healing, growth, you know, apologies, forgiveness. You know, well, forgiveness you can do that. You do it as soon as possible, but those times where you can have the conversation.
Yes.
You know,
timing is everything. And then the O is for opportunity. So timing and opportunity, they go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
So, you know, at the right time, the opportunity will present itself.
Yeah.
You know, and when that happens, you know, I always say you don't want to ever burn a bridge. You got to cross back over, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, when that opportunity presents itself, that is that opportunity not to burn that bridge. Like for you were able to go back and apologize to this young lady for whatever the situation, and she probably received it. I'm sure she received it. And so now that's a bridge that is connected again. Now it may not be that you have the same relationship, right?
Oh no, but this particular scenario, and you're right. This particular scenario, we were closer than before.
See there.
Now, you know.
Yeah.
But I think because she knew me, she knew my heart, you know, and no, but it took time for her to trust
circle
me
back
again,
around,
you know,
right.
trust me like,
exactly.
you know, you just left me hanging last time. I don't want to go through that again. But when she, you know, we were just in two totally different spaces. We've grown. Now that was in our early 20s, like 22, 23, you know, when that was happening. And now, you know, we're in our you know, then at, you know, early 30s, I think when you know, when we reunited. Now she's over 40 and I'm about to be 40, you know.
We grown, right?
We are grown, you know. But sometimes, you know, you don't pick back up where you left off, but at least there's some kind of, you know, respect and closure.
Absolutely.
You know, that took place.
Absolutely. And so finally, P is just for positive energy, positivity. Like do everything in a positive way, in a positive light. That's going to cause the least harm. And so I live by that. I've experienced that, and that's the stop phenomenon. So just stop.
Yeah, just
stop.
stop.
Just stop. And that's really
like
what
that.
that means.
I
That's
like
what that's
that.
about. So,
I like that. So that kind of goes into your next chapter, which is positive tribes, positive vibes, honey.
Yes, ma'am.
How is your tribe?
My tribe is positive, but it had to get there. It, you know, again, we talked about it earlier. Sometimes you have to align. You have to weed out. You have to bring in, you know, but that's important. You know, the people that you have around you will make or break you. And, you know, if you have people around you that are not necessarily holding you accountable for certain things, they're just kind of there just to be there, and there is no real connection or benefit, you know, what is that about, right? And so we have to think about that. We have to get to a point where we can understand that, and that takes a minute. And it you know, I'm not going to say it's going to happen when you in teenage years or 20s.
Definitely not.
It takes a minute to get to that point. So yes, I can definitely say over the years my tribe has changed some. But I have a lot of my girls who have been by my side and continue to be by my side, and they know who they are, and I love them dearly for it. So
Agreed.
Yes.
I have what everyone knows, my solid crew.
Yes.
They've been riding with me for a long time.
Absolutely.
What I love about them, and that they are who I consider my tribe. And the reason being is I can be myself.
Yes. So important.
I can be myself. I can, you know, I like to. I'm not a comedian, but I will crack a joke in a minute.
You can crack a joke,
know?
right? You can just be silly. You can be carefree.
Yes, and I don't feel like I got to be you know, the relationship coach or the one that's always, you know, giving the advice, you know, or watch what I say. And I'm not talking about being disrespectful in what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, if I just want to say something, you know, I can say it with
no judgment zone.
With no judgment, and also just nobody in their feelings, you know, because we dish it out to each other and we just clown on each other or whatever. I love those, and we hold each other accountable.
Absolutely.
And then there's been those that, you know, outside of that, you know, you have someone that you think is in your tribe, and then you found out it's not. And sometimes it's as you continue the journey of getting to know yourself 100%. And that's where I feel I am now. But I definitely then that's recent. You know, when it
Okay.
comes to my friendship tribe, like I understand who, you know, like professionally, who I'm, you know, when it comes
Right.
to marriage, I want to raise my kids, you know, that kind
Right.
of thing. When it comes to friendships, has been not a struggle. I want to call it a struggle because like I said, I've got my core
You got your
group,
girls,
but
right.
with, you know, with new people, I didn't have new people come in, you
Right.
know, and so then when I would allow new people, I was like, that's why I don't allow new people
That's
in,
fine.
you know.
That's right. It's always a reason.
But then, you know, you get to really know yourself, and then you understand the kind of energy that you want to allow in your life.
Mhm.
And then you don't disregard when you feel something off.
Exactly.
So every time a friendship didn't work out, I dismissed the off feeling.
Okay. You
You
just
know?
kind of swept it away
Yep.
as if it
Mhm.
wasn't there.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Yep.
got to acknowledge that.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so I pretty much practiced that. You know, that's probably in the last, you know, few years, you know, whatever. And I think that's important.
Extremely.
I mean, and you talk about that. You talk about that when you said, you know, be careful of who you allow in your space.
In your space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Energy is powerful.
Isn't it?
Extremely powerful. Because we
Speaking
can
of-
take on that.
Speaking of energy,
Yes.
your next chapter is vitamin N. Yes. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
Tell them what N stands for.
Okay, so
And riding the waves. I
Yes.
loved all of that.
Yes,
Whew.
riding the
Put
waves.
me in a happy
vitamin
place
N.
reading
yes.
that chapter. Yeah.
Yeah. So vitamin N is vitamin nature.
Yes.
The N stands for nature, and I'm an outdoorsy type of girl. I love to be outside. I love nature. Anyone that knows me, you know, I love to work out when it's nice
Yes, you do.
outside. I love to go in the park and run, and sometimes just sit and be with the elements. So,
Yes.
because we can, you know, we get so much energy from that. At least I do. You know,
Yes,
some people may not be
absolutely.
outdoors people, but we get so much energy from just being in the elements.
Yes.
You know, sun, water. I mean, all that.
Yes.
Riding the waves. That's the beach.
Yes.
Just got back from the beach. Wish I could go back to the
Yes.
beach.
Every time I get
But,
back, I'm like, can we go back again?
right, exactly. So all of that, you know, and at the same time, you know, water. We drink water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's healthy for us. You know, that can make us feel good. So different things like that is what that chapter talks about. Vitamin N,
Yes.
the sun, vegetation,
Exactly.
all of that. You know, what we put into our bodies
Mhm.
determines how we feel.
100%.
If we eat junk, we gonna feel like junk.
Oh, we feel a whole mess.
We feel a whole mess.
Mhm.
You know, if we eat pretty healthy, you know, we gonna feel pretty good about ourselves. And so that's what that chapter touches on.
I loved that chapter because that is where I go when I'm feeling a little off. You know,
Mhm.
I want to go, period.
Right.
But if I'm feeling off or I'm feeling stressed or I feel overwhelmed, I'll tell my husband. But even before marriage, I always knew I got to go.
You
I got to
gotta
be by
go.
the water.
You
I
gotta go.
For me, it's the water.
Yes, it's something so
Now don't take me
healing.
up no mountain or nothing. I ain't trying to go. I'm not trying to go. I will go,
But that's
I'm
not where you
that's
prefer
not-
to be.
Exactly.
That's not your preference.
But take me to the water.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
just something, it just speaks. It has a
Yes.
language all by itself.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. Okay. So we done gathered ourselves together. We done rediscovered ourselves. We know our
Mhm.
why. We're coming into our fullness of ourselves. And your chapter 7 is serve, hunty.
serve honey.
But we want to be serving them.
Mm-hmm.
But you're talking about a different serve.
I'm talking about a different serve
Yes.
because we know what that serve
Yes.
is.
But I loved this chapter because I'm a believer in it. So tell them what serve you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
So serve is giving back to the community, giving back what was given to us.
Yes.
And so that chapter really is all about how I got started in service. When I was a little girl, my mother worked for the telephone company for Bell South in New Orleans, and so there was a picket line at that time. And so they were just, you know, had their little picket signs, and I'm just a little bitty girl. I had to be maybe 4. And I just pick up a sign and I just get in line with them. I don't know what they doing. I'm just marching around. And so it wasn't until I became older that I understood what they were doing.
Yes.
They were fighting for something.
Yes.
Right? And so that was extremely important to me. And so service is everything.
Yes.
You know, service is what I do. And all the way from high school. You know, I would do the diabetes walk. My sister, you know, was diagnosed with diabetes. So I would do the diabetes walk. I would do the AIDS walk, Habitat for Humanity.
Absolutely.
All different types of things where I could just give back to people less fortunate than I was.
Yes.
I think that's extremely important to be able to do that. And so serve, honey.
Yes.
That's what that chapter is
And
all
I love
about.
it. Serving has brought me through some very stressful times in my life.
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
I talked about in a post today a challenging time that my husband and I had gone through financially. And I remember I couldn't get out the bed. I would get out the bed to take the kids to school, and I'd get back in the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thankfully it took like almost 2 weeks where I realized, like, you are just sleeping. And so I remember signing myself up to serve. And that's what got me out of bed every day, because they were dependent upon me.
Exactly.
And it helped get me back, you know,
Yes.
and get me back in order and get me back straight.
Yes, because, you know, when we're serving, it's hard to be in a funk.
Yeah.
When you're serving and you're giving of yourself and your time, it's hard to be angry. It's hard to have an attitude. And so it will pull you out of any funk that you're in.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. All right. I want you to talk about the smile approach in your chapter that you say, smile gorgeous.
oh my goodness. So so this chapter is just a personal chapter for me.
Okay.
Because, you know, when we are smiling, you know, you exude a type of energy that makes you feel good.
Yes.
And so for me, when I say smile gorgeous, a lot of times you may not necessarily feel like smiling, or your smile may not necessarily reflect what you're feeling on the inside.
Yes.
So when I say smile gorgeous, smile anyway.
Yes.
Smile anyway. But at the same time, acknowledge and recognize what you're feeling on the inside. But you don't always have to carry that. You don't have to say, okay, well, I just don't feel like it, so I'm going to just have an attitude.
Yeah,
I'm going to just have a pout.
Yes.
You know, or like we say in New Orleans, I'm going to have a boot in my mouth.
Right.
You know, it's why?
Right.
When you can smile, because when you smile, other people start smiling.
Absolutely.
It is contagious almost.
Exactly. 100%.
So I always smile gorgeous, smile gorgeous.
100%. I love it. And then your last two chapters, You Are Enough. You talk about the value tactics and lit, because we only got a few seconds left, but kind of sum that up for everyone. Your value tactics and live intentionally today.
Yeah, so chapter 9, Birth of Worth. That's another one of my favorite chapters when I talk about the value tactics as women and our value. And I think that is so important that we understand what we are worth and what we bring to the table, because now we hear, okay, what do you bring to the table?
Right.
I bring myself and I bring my value.
Yes.
Is what I bring, because it's something about knowing who you are. That says a lot, because when you know that, you can be of support to anybody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so the value tactics really just get into how to understand your worth, what that means, how to capitalize on that, how to utilize that.
Yes.
Lit is live intentionally today, and living a lit life
Yes.
is everything.
Everything.
And when you are
Agreed.
living in your purpose and walking in your purpose, you are living a lit life, because you're living with intention.
I love it.
You're not haphazardly walking around here just blindly doing
Okay.
something. You're living
Exactly.
with intention and with purpose.
Exactly.
So that sums it up,
I'm
Syndy B.
so thankful that you came here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yes, so I can be found IG at Forever Brincia. That's FOREVR Brincia. I can also be found IG Light of My Shadows, Facebook Brincia KBNville, Twitter. Yes, I'm on Twitter. Forever Brincia, and I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, and LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is just my name.
I
so.
know, right?
Yeah,
Same
that's
here.
just my name.
And they can find your book on Amazon
Yes,
and Barnes and Noble.
Yes! I'm so excited. Yes, so Amazon and Barnes and Noble, please find me.
Yes. Please, please make sure you all, I'm telling you, it is an amazing read. I love the notes section. You can take some notes and the kind of check-in. Let's do some check-in. Let's do some shine check-in.
Because, you know, I wanted it to be more of a living journey.
Yeah.
Where even if you read it now, say 3 years from now, you can go back.
I love that.
To certain parts of the book that you want to revisit. You can go back to your notes that you took at that time. The shine checks at the end of each chapter really just cements everything that you have learned in the chapters.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
and
for
sharing
having me.
and healing.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
I hope we got some healing out there. I really do.
And you all message her if you have questions,
Please,
want to
I'm
follow
always
up on
open.
anything. And of course, your favorite relationship coach. You can ask me anything, but definitely please take these strategies, these tactics, these from her personal life lessons, and how to just come through them all on the other side successfully. You all, thank you so much for tuning in. You know you all can find me on The Syndy B. Spell my name right, SYNDY. And you know I'm here every single Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. on Power 108.9. Make sure you tune in next week to the Unbroken Experience with Syndy B on Power 108.9. And I'll see you next week.